In ArchiveMethod, you accumulate many versions of method code. Frequently, you want to see what makes two versions different from one another. For this, you need a diff tool, which, when applied to two text files, can highlight the differences between them. There is a built-in, so-called diff tool right in ArchiveMethod, which is relatively simplistic, although functional. External diff tools by third parties are more full-featured. There are many of them, and some of them are free. If you're a Mac user and are willing to download the Xcode development environment, File Merge comes as a free utility. Text Wrangler and BBEdit are common text editors that have diff capabilities built in. The former is free. Just to get our feet wet, let's look at the free File Merge app. I'll go ahead and select two versions of some method and pull them into the left and right side of File Merge and compare them. Here the differences are outlined. I personally prefer a commercial dedicated product, which is Kaleidoscope by Black Pixel. It has a lot of capabilities beyond the scope of this demonstration. I'm just going to show the most common ways that I use it. This is the icon for Kaleidoscope. I'll fire it up to make sure that it's running, and now we'll go back to ArchiveMethod and look at some versions of the particular method, and this one is what I will use as an example. So within ArchiveMethod, we can see this method RSAlpha datetime, and there are a total of 24 versions. We are looking initially at version 23 and 24. Over on the left, there's a little indicator of just how similar the code is in those two versions, and you can see it's actually quite close. But let's go back in time a little bit, looking at earlier versions. Now 96% similar, 95%, and ultimately suddenly down to 69%. So there's actually quite a difference between version 16 and version 24. While we know there are a number of differences between these two versions of the code, it can be difficult to simply visually scan them to find all these differences. I'll go over 4 different ways to display these differences. The first is simply to take advantage of the built-in tool of ArchiveMethod. This is activated by clicking on this little circle showing the % similarity. When I do this, the circle is surrounded by a small band of orange. The non-matching lines in the two versions of code are now highlighted in orange. This is a relatively primitive way of looking for differences. The lines are identified, but no help is provided in terms of showing where in the line the difference actually occurs. Various other differences, such as blank lines and changes in the order of lines, are not revealed by this built-in tool. However, it is fast and easy and often sufficient. I will now show 3 different ways to take advantage of the Kaleidoscope tool. The conceptually simplest is to create text files of the two versions. Click on the Export button to create text files on the desktop. Now, if I go to the desktop, I can find those 2 files and bring them into Kaleidoscope. One easy way is to highlight those 2 text files and go to Finder, and under Services, choose Open in Kaleidoscope. Now we have the 2 versions sitting in Kaleidoscope ready to be examined. Kaleidoscope expects the older version to be on the left side, as is seen here. If you open these files in such a way that that is not the case, simply click on this back and forth arrow to bring them into the appropriate order. Common to Kaleidoscope and many other similar products is a color scheme where all the text that is not present in the newer version displays in red, and text in the newer version which is not in the older version displays in green. Kaleidoscope, in addition, has this way of demonstrating lines where the lines are similar but internally changed. And here they highlight the actual change. We can see that in this version the T is capitalized, while in the other version it is not capitalized. Once you are in Kaleidoscope, you get a list here of all the changes in the file, and they list 20 here. We can go from one to another. The first one here is highlighted in red. Click down and then see the change, and in this fashion find all the changes in the two files. Now there's an alternative way of doing a comparison which doesn't involve actually creating a file on the desktop, and I find that fairly convenient as well. In this case, we will compare version 20 with version 24. And you can see that the difference between these two versions is not all that great. There's a 95% similarity. We'll go ahead and this time do things a little differently. We will put version 20 on the clipboard, and then we'll go to Kaleidoscope and choose this command, New from Clipboard. Once you learn the shortcut of Shift-Command-N, then this can be even faster. Now I have the Kaleidoscope half filled in with the older version of the method sitting here on the left side and waiting for the newer version. I'll go back to ArchiveMethod and put the new version on the clipboard and go back to Kaleidoscope. And here you can see that there's a function to paste a comparison, which is the Option-Command-V keyboard shortcut, and that puts the newer version of the method here on the right side. In this case, as we saw, there was not that much change between the two versions. Only 7 are listed here. We're going to click down to the next one, and here we can see simply a change in capitalization. Down here, a slight change in the formatting of a comment. The next one is where actually new code is inserted in the newer version that was not present in the old version. Finally, the fourth way is to take advantage of an automating tool available on the Mac. That tool is Keyboard Maestro. This tool allows you to string a chain of actions together and fire them off with a single keystroke. We just showed how to move two versions of the code to Kaleidoscope using the clipboard. This is reasonably fast, but still a little tedious. You're jumping back and forth between two programs and clicking on buttons or selecting menu items. To make this faster, we'll create a macro tool in Keyboard Maestro. To aid in construction of this tool, the clipboard buttons have been assigned keyboard shortcuts, Command L for the left and Command R for the right. This makes them easier to incorporate into a script. Now look at the script in Keyboard Maestro. It's fairly simple to construct once you become familiar with that program. I've elected to have the macro launched by the keystroke Option F1. With Keyboard Maestro running, now these comparison launches are very easy. I'll do an example with array camel words. Simply use the keystroke Option F1, and essentially immediately the Kaleidoscope window appears showing the differences. We can show this for many versions of many methods.